This Quapaw Nation Veterans Film Project started as a simple concept. We felt it was important to recognize our veterans and highlight their service. But once we began, we realized the broader mission of capturing a piece of our Quapaw culture as it is today. It was an absolute honor to interview these individuals who are embedded in our tribe. These warriors descend from the signers of our original treaties with the United States. These individuals have served in many different roles and positions of leadership throughout their lives, and they continue to be role models in our community. We owe it to them to listen and to hear what they have to say. This is a story of two men to bravely serve during the Vietnam War era. These were family men. These were sons, fathers, brothers, uncles. These men went over across the ocean, halfway around the world, and fought for the United States in its war with Vietnam, and they lived to tell the tale.
I go by Bill.
Bill Griffin. And Bill Griffin, Uncle Bill, where were you born and what year?
I was born June 26, 1941, out at Devil's Promenade out there, just south of the powwow grounds, that first intersection. A lot of them, back then, not especially older ones, they spoke Quapaw because, remember I was little and be sitting there and boy, they'd be talking, It's different now, There's very few can speak Quapaw, fluent.
I'm Henry Ellick. I'm a member of the Quapaw tribe. I'm 74 years old. I've been pretty active all my life, recreational wise. I'll tell you, as a veteran, I'm 100% PTSD. I say that because I exercise, I continue to exercise, that's how I cope. I learned a long time ago that recreation is to occupy your idle time. So I fill my idle time with recreation, physical things, talking to people. Me talking to them, me counseling them counsels me.
American Indians and Alaska Natives serve in the armed forces at 5 times the national average and have served with distinction in every major conflict for over 200 years. Native people have the highest per capita involvement of any population to serve in the United States military.
See, I listed in January 1965, January 18th, I still remember that. And went to boot camp there at San Diego and got our infantry training there at Pendleton. Yeah, come home from leave, it was just about probably June, I think it was, because I remember I had to be back before the Quapaw powwow. I felt pretty good, dude. Be away from the training and everything, on that military life. I forget how many days they had, and it was, I think 20-day leave or something like that. And it felt good, you know, see old friends and everything. Some of them are gone already, and some of them are already, you know, married or wherever, you know. And it was, I remember it was pretty good, but kind of apprehensive too, you know, because that's when they started sending people over Vietnam at that time.
During the Vietnam War, of the 42,000 American Indians who served, 90% were volunteers. 1 out of every 4 eligible American Indian people served, and of those, 226 died in action, and 5 received the Medal of Honor.
I went to Oklahoma State Tech at Okmulgee Tech. I graduated from there, and then I got drafted, but I went to my draft board to ask them to delay, if they would delay me so I could finish in May. They let me finish, and I went on a 120-day delay program, went right into service, and I was in there for 3 years. Went up to Fort Lewis, Washington. I was supposed to be up there training for a month. Got up there on a Friday. On Monday, I was in Vietnam because the Tet Offense started, and they shipped us straight to Vietnam. The on-the-job training was on. Yeah, basic 30 days, Vietnam. Called the Tet Offensive of 1968, which was all out, breakout of war all over Vietnam. I wasn't never reluctant about that. I was an old fighter, boxer, was a hunter. I did to my country that's what you're supposed to do. If they'd sent me to Georgia or somewhere, I would have done the same. I was a soldier. I didn't ask questions. We was not trained to ask questions. Just like my family, we didn't ask questions. They told you and you took it for what they told you. I would never question that. And me going to Vietnam, I wasn't reluctant. I was ready to go. In fact, I went in unassigned, so they would sit me in the infantry.
We knew we was going, you know, because when I was still in boot camp, I think it was March, somewhere in there, is when they sent the first ones over, those Marines. And my brother was one of that first group to go. And so we knew we was going, you know, and our drill instructors, you know, said, boy, you better get it down good because, you know, a bunch of us probably wouldn't come back. It was the USS Kitty Hawk. I was assigned sea duty. And so I had to go through all that training. It was just about almost like, I think what Navy does with all of that because we trained with them. You know, fire control, damage control, you know, all kinds of stuff. You know.
I went for my country. For whatever political reasons, I didn't care. If he'd sent me to Georgia, I didn't know anybody in Georgia. I would have went to Georgia and did whatever I had to do in Vietnam. That's what you do as a soldier. Think about Vietnam every day, at night, constantly. But I cope by doing it. By counseling others counsels me. Because I have to basically be an example for kids and my grandkids and whoever I come in contact with.
Went over there. We were north and south, all the way, you know, the southern tip to northern. Because you could tell when he was in the south, boy, it was hot. And I guess the water was shallower there. I mean, we'd be outside land, and you could look out over the side and you see an old ship, you know, churning up mud, you know, muddy water and everything.
Branch of service.
I was in the United States Army. I was in the infantry. I was 11C, was 11 Charlie, was a mortar man, and also slash infantry, because he was out there in the infantry. Fired an 81 millimeter mortar in the jungles, because artillery is a straight shooting weapon, and we were indirect fire, so we could drop stuff over a mountain where a artillery couldn't, because it shot straight. We wasn't, you know, like a lot of people really ragged on the soldiers. We didn't get that back here in Oklahoma. I didn't get that anyway. I came in, nobody even knew I was coming home. I got off the plane in Joplin, Missouri, had to make 3 calls to get a ride to come home. And that was the rest of my life like that.
I was a PFC and then got up to what they call a Lance Corporal. And I was promoted corporal after I left sea duty, you know, went back to the rifle company. But I spent just about all kinds of duties on the ship there, you know, to the security, you know. One time I was, several months, I was a brig guard, and we, you know, security escorts for congressmen, senators, and, you know, admirals, generals, whatever, you know. It's, what they call them, USO shows, you know, like, they have these, we never did have Bob Hope come, but we had, you know, Nancy Sinatra, Ann Margaret, and Johnny Rivers, and, you know, a bunch of people like that. And I was, that one time, when Nancy Sinatra was there, I was detailed, you know, be with her. I had to stay about arm's length from her, a little short thing, you know. But, well, I'll tell you, it was so packed, everybody. And I just sat there by our what we called the guard shack or Marine, main security office. I was sitting there. We was listening there. And Margaret, boy, that she was the best one.
She drew the crowd.
I was wishing I'd been detailed with her.
American Indians have protected their communities and lands for thousands of years. The traditional role of the warrior extended beyond fighting enemies. Warriors cared for people and helped during times of difficulty, and they would even put down their own lives so that their people could survive. Many American Indians view service in the U.S. Armed Forces as a continuation of this role that warriors play in Native cultures.
When I was in Vietnam, I did what I had to do, but I didn't go beyond what I needed to do. I had morals and ethics about what I was there for. But that prevails throughout your life. In my life and with my Vietnam experience, I live one day at a time. I don't expect to drive home and get home. If that happens, that's boom, that's what happens. One day at a time. Tomorrow's not here. You're not gonna see tomorrow. Never. So you live your life for right now. Be happy, make people happy. Why be angry at everything? Anger just makes you beat you. Anger beats you. Some made you angry that beat you. When I was a freshman, I weighed 128. When I graduated, I said, but you just keep on going. Size makes no difference. It's what you got inside you.
It's your mind.
It's not, it's not how big the dog, it's what kind of fight's in the dog.
That's right. That's right.
So, in 2011, myself, I fought in Kansas City and won the world championship in the Masters division in the Ringside World Championships. So I have a belt that says Ringside World Championship. So, then I've coached a lot of boxing, a lot of kids.
But boy, I remember when we left, we didn't go, I don't know, when you're out there at the ocean there, you can't see nothing, don't know where you're at or anything. But boy, I tell you what, it was rough. And we had our hangar bay doors closed because the water was coming up high enough to get in, hangar bay. But of course, we didn't have any air operations, so we rode it out. But I remember we always had our escort, one or two destroyers with us. And the submarine, but we never saw a submarine, But those poor little guys in the destroyers, boy, they just bounced around like corks, They'd hit, boy, that whole front end go underwater all the way up there, gun turrets, they'd be underwater and back up again, Any more waves, stuff hitting the side, boy, the whole ship was just shuddering. Boy, try to eat down in the mess hall, trays, glasses, and everything go.
Pretty rough.
Yeah, it, you sitting there, trying to eat, holding your old tray down one hand and trying to eat with the other.
Wow.
Last part of '67. Because I got home, it was about Christmas time. And I remember I'd come home, for Christmas, and then I had to be back. And that's when I went back, that there's when my orders were changed, and I went to Pendleton, and then it's signed to.
What I also have is a 100% PTSD, but I cope every day, and I cope by exercising continuously. That's how, and I've been a counselor in Department of Corrections, been in security prison, Eastern State Hospital for 10 years, maximum security, mental health, and 20 years with juveniles. I see Vietnam every day like it was yesterday. But I sleep in a recliner. I got to be on guard. I'm on guard 100%. When I walk out of here going somewhere, and that's why I stay in shape, so I can take care of that. But that's what you have to be. And that's a good life I cope with. My wife has to learn how to live with me like that. Because if you, not only soldiers, but anybody, if you have PTSD, your whole family has PTSD because they act the way you act. If you're herky and jerky on something that's going along, they're going to act like that instead of being, well, that was so bad, just kind of let it slide. Yeah, you're everybody's mentors for all your offspring by the way you act, the way you carry yourself.
It's an honorable thing. And it's supposed to be honor and dignity. And, it's just carrying on the old traditions, keeping it alive. To be Indian, and be proud of it, and be proud of it if you got to know, your history, your traditions, and everything that goes with that. You ought to be proud of it. Try to get along, things are changing, you know. But you have to change, you have to adapt, but still you can still keep the old discipline. And I think service helped me a lot on that too.
Yeah.
You know.
You know, we have a gourd dance which honors veterans during our 4th of July powwow. And then there's all the other tribes have gourd dancing, and that's what we do, prevailing gourd dancing. And it's an honor to do that because people know that you are a veteran when you do that. You don't have to be a veteran, but it's a veteran's dance and a social dance also. But we welcome everybody to dance because a lot of youngsters that are younger, I say youngsters or younger men, may not want to dance because they wasn't a veteran, but they can dance because they can represent their dads or uncles or whoever. And that's the way to keep the tradition going, is to recognize your people before you.
I remember my grandpa, you know, he'd pray at these dinners, funerals, memorial things. And he said, Wafpani, O Golfbach, you know. He said, humble Quapaw, you know.
These gentlemen not only represent their tribal communities, but moreover, they embodied patriotism at a time when their own country diminished their homelands, diminished their cultures, and their ways of life.